Hey, how you doing, everyone? Happy Sunday. This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Co-op Podcast, episode 231. And yeah, unfortunately, it's just three of us today, because obviously Richard Bailey Jr. and JJ are both at PSX 2017 right now, right this minute. So, today I have Mr. Max Moller here. How you doing, Max?
Hey, dude, I'm doing well. Happy to be back in the show.
Glad to have you back, man. We also have Miss Dana Abercrombie. How you doing, Dana?
Hola everyone, I'm doing great.
Good, good. Yeah, so Richard and JJ should be flying back to, where they live tomorrow. And they said that they'll probably do their own, little recap show, just letting everyone know how it was to actually be at PSX and stuff. So definitely look forward to that as well. But today we are going to give you our personal recaps based on, watching the streams of both the Game Awards and PSX. So you have that to look forward to. Shouts to, all the people who are in the chat already waiting. But yeah, let's get straight into what we've been playing. And I'll go first. Of course, I've been playing Overwatch. And I'm looking forward to the event that's coming up, the Winter Wonderland. That should be fun. There's going to be a new um, arcade mode game that's coming out where basically I think it's 5 Mays against one Winston, and it's going to be like an OP Yeti version of Winston. So that should be fun. But yeah,
That sounds
besides that,
hilarious.
yeah, like I like when Jeff Kaplan announced it. I like how he was saying 5 Mays is everyone's worst nightmare in Overwatch. That's really true. Like May does
True.
cause a lot of chaos. But yeah, looking forward to that. Besides that, I what have I been playing? I've been playing Persona 4 on the Vita. I actually went back to that. I did start this originally like last year before Persona 5 came out, but I didn't get too far with it. And then obviously Persona 5 came out and I was super invested in that game and I ended up loving it. And it just made me want to go back to Persona 4 afterwards as well. So yeah, I've picked that back up now and I'm really enjoying it. I just beat the first dungeon, which was quite easy actually. But I hear that this game gets really complicated and that it's a lot more complicated than Persona 5 is. So we'll see how tough that game gets. But that's pretty much it. I almost caved in and bought Assassin's Creed Origins this week, but with Christmas coming up, I feel pressured to, save my money and buy other people, gifts and stuff because it's that time of year where you're kind of pressured into buying things for other people, and obviously I have no problem with that, but it's just the fact that it's the whole Christmas gimmick is designed to get you to spend money unnecessarily. And yeah, I'm just gonna wait until that's over with, and then I'm gonna get to treating myself to some more games and stuff after. So yeah, I'm gonna hold off on that until after the holidays. But yeah, that's pretty much it. How about you, Dana? What you been playing this week?
I've been playing two games. One is Dauntless, which right now is in closed beta, and I really enjoy it. It is basically an action role playing game. And you just go. I've been playing with three other people. You go and you fight beasts, and you're these big behemoths. And they have one of my favorite is bear owl, which is literally what it is. What it sounds like. It's a bear and an owl. It's like this big old bear with massive owl wings, and it flies around, and it has like a morphed face of a bear and an owl. And your goal is just to basically kill it, and you make your own gear. You upgrade with different weapons, and it's just been a lot of fun. Each match is around 15 to 20 minutes, and it's hard for me. But the more you play, the better you get at it. So I've been making slow progress where I went from just being awful to being tolerable right now. And I've also been playing Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. I went back to that game because it was one of my favorites, and it's a very long story of how I lost that game. but I got it back again thanks to Tony, who does the throwdown. So I've been playing that, and I'm just getting really excited for the Spider-Man on PS4.
That's cool. I never played Shattered Dimensions, but I heard mixed things about it.
You have to, because it's just basically Spider-Man throughout different timelines. So it's like noir, there's like the future. So just, you should do it. It's really good.
Yeah, if I get the chance to, I'll definitely go back and check that out for sure. And I'm also really looking forward to the new Spider-Man game. But yeah, that's cool. How about you, Max? What have you been playing this week?
Like last week, I didn't have much time to play games, but when I have had time, I've been playing Prey still. I'm right near the ending of it. It's interesting. The game just keeps throwing things at me. Like every time I enter a new area, I get like 6 side quests, and those side quests devolve into other side quests, and then I'll be doing those side quests and I'll be getting more because you're exploring more of the ship. Because it basically, how it works is it's kind of like BioShock 1, where you have the entire it's not a city this time, it's a space station. You have the entire space station available to you like at all times. Like you could go back to the first area whenever the hell you want, assuming that it's open and like some gameplay mechanic hasn't like blocked it off for now. But like I'm right near the end part of the game where like I have to start making decisions, and I found myself making like 6 separate save points because I know there's multiple endings, and I could see how some of them are going to play out and kind of branch out into their own section where I won't be able to go back. So I've been making hella save points because you can have like a whole bunch, so that I could go back and like play each ending without having to go through the entire game again. And it's really I just really like how it's playing out and how it's just constantly giving me stuff to do and explore space station. Because most games, by this point, I'd be kind of like, all right, whatever, I'm just ready to get to the end. But this game has intrigued me so much, and just all of the different enemies and just the places to explore. The space station is just absolutely insane. It's very creative, well written, a lot of quality of life adjustments that just make me want to keep playing it and stay in the world as long as possible. Because I know that once I beat it, I'm not really going to want to go back, just because that's the type of gamer I am nowadays, because there's just so many games out there now. Everything done before really wrapping everything up and finishing all that up. But to me, it's such an underrated game that I really think should have gotten more attention this year. I don't know why it didn't. I guess because it came out at a weird time. But I felt the same way about Dishonored 2, and that's from the same studio. And I guess, I don't know, these are more niche titles, I guess, because Prey it's definitely a difficult game. It's not a game that I don't think the public would pick up on. It's not really a horror game. It's more of a thriller, but there are definitely like horrific elements like BioShock 1. And even BioShock 1 is still more of like a cult hit. It's like a gamer hit. Like the casual gamers and stuff, they don't really know about BioShock. So I guess it makes sense that it didn't get as much attention as I think it deserved. But it's one of those games that like when everyone was freaking out about like single player games dying and stuff, I didn't even see Prey being mentioned. And now having played through it, I think that that's a shame, because this game rewards your creativity. It's so, there's just not, I'm struggling to find things wrong with it. It's just really my type of game as well. It's so creative. There's so much going on. It's like, there's so many twists and things just happening all the time, and so much to keep track of. And it's just like, I feel like I'm just being immersed and lost into this world where just everything went wrong at a certain point, because it's like you're out in space trying to figure out this new alien race. And like the backstory is that like Russia came to the United States because they found this alien race out in space. And that's why the moon mission like happened, was actually to go and figure out what the hell's going on with these aliens. And then like everything went wrong. So there's all this backstory to it too, that you can find by reading books and just exploring. And it just has really hooked me in, and I love it. I guess I will say the enemy variety is kind of lacking, even though like as you start the game, these enemies are terrifying. Like you're freaked out to go fight anyone, just like in BioShock 1. But like I'm at the point now where like the enemies are pretty much elemental variations on the same enemies as beforehand. And I've gotten pretty overpowered because I've been taking so long to get to the end of the game. I've been upgrading myself up so high because I've been doing everything, that I'm kind of like a powerhouse now, or I'm just running past everyone. Because yeah, the enemies are just kind of now, they're just kind of annoying, but like that's not really hampering my enjoyment of the game. It's really just because I've been stretching it out so much. But Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I'm like 20 hours in, and I thought I was going to beat it last night, but I think I still have like 5 or 6 more hours to go, which is really cool. So yeah, I've been enjoying it thoroughly.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely feel like this year, like we've seen a lot of great games be released that people just don't pay attention to, or at least like the casual market just, doesn't pay attention to them and they kind of, slip not really by the wayside, but like, they just slip by and not everyone acknowledges how great these games are. And the way you described it, that's one of those games that kind of fits in that category. And I know there was a few of them this year. But yeah,
Definitely.
that sounds good. It definitely sounds intriguing the way you described it.
Yeah.
Particularly the whole moon landing thing, because I love conspiracy theories. So
Yeah, it's something that like it's not really integrated into the plot at all, which kind of sucks. It's something like you find out if you're reading through the books and everything on the side. I wish that was something they incorporated more into it. But like a lot of that's there for the players who go searching for it. But even then, just the normal plot is still really interesting in and of itself.
cool. Sounds really good. But yeah, so that's it. That's everything.
Sorry, I was taking a drink. Yep, that's it.
All right, cool. So that's what we've been playing. Definitely let us know what you guys have been playing this week in the chat room. But I guess it's time to move on to our main topics now. So yeah, we're gonna start off by just highlighting PS4 sales. Because now they've reached 70 million units worldwide, and to my knowledge, the PS3 has sold 83 million worldwide. So that means the PS4 is already gonna outdo the PS3, which is amazing for Sony, I think. And it's definitely been a great generation for them, I think. Dana, did you have some thoughts on that?
No, basically it's a great system, and they have great games to support the system, unlike other consoles. So I'm not surprised by
Ouch.
the numbers at all.
Ouch. Yeah, those shots. That was crazy. Yeah, but yeah, definitely kudos to Sony. It's I think this year has kind of proved that it's well deserved. Before this year, I was kind of, a bit like confused as to why they were doing so well, because I felt like the games were few and far between kind of thing, and the third parties were really kind of carrying them. But this year, they've definitely solidified themselves, and but they do have some competition, coming up. The Nintendo Switch, is kind of it's getting to that point where they're going to be doing similar numbers. So yeah, it's definitely a great time for gaming in 2017, moving into 2018. Max, you got any thoughts on that? And are you going to contribute to these numbers anytime soon?
I'd really like to, as everyone knows. I've actually been debating between this or a Switch now. That's the really tough thing because the Switch is just so enticing, but I still need to play catch up eventually. So I can't make a solid comment on that yet. But like you guys said, obviously props to Sony for selling as many systems as they have. That's absolutely insane. And like you said, Gary, they really delivered on the titles this year. I do remember that too. And like where the consoles were mostly just having sparse first parties, and then they had the third parties kind of carrying them. And it was just kind of like we were in this weird limbo state where like the third parties were still really good. Don't get me wrong. And like the first parties that were coming were good. Like Bloodborne was killer, but we still just didn't have a whole bunch of titles to really sink our teeth into that were first party, obviously, until this year, where now there's more than we can even handle, than any one person can handle. So that's pretty crazy to them. That hasn't happened in a long time. And now the Switch is about to pull the same thing, like you were just saying. It's absolutely crazy that not only has the PlayStation 4 just been absolutely killing it, but Nintendo's even made a comeback. And that competition is going to be good. It's going to be good. We're going to have even like 2018 is already looking crazy for both systems, especially with that Insomniac Spider-Man game, dude. That thing. See, that's the biggest thing that's making me question a PS4 over a Switch. Is that Spider-Man game just looks absolutely amazing. And I just watched Spider-Man Homecoming too, so now I'm like really in the Spider-Man mood again. and like, oh, it looks so cool. It looks absolutely insane. So, and you know, they have the God of War game coming and everything that we'll talk about later in the PSX part, but they just set themselves up for another killer year. So it's well deserved, honestly.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I mean, for someone like you, I could see how it's a tough decision between the Switch and the PlayStation now, because they both have, you know, a lot of quality titles already available, and then obviously the future is going to bring a lot more. So yeah, it's probably definitely a tough decision to choose between those two. But yeah, Sony have had a great year, so congrats to them. We definitely had to acknowledge that. But you guys got any final thoughts on that before we move on?
Not in particular, just extremely well deserved.
Indeed. Yep. So yeah, I mean, I had to make sure I put something positive about Sony in here before I rip them to shreds later. So yeah, I think we did a good job with that. But
Fair.
moving on. Moving on. Yeah, so there was Capcom released some Mega Man announcements this week. So, you know, of course, we're going to get a new Mega Man 11, and then there's also Mega Man X, which I'm not too sure on Mega Man, but I believe it's like a remaster or something, or a collection, I think. Not too sure.
Yeah, the X collection is coming. From what I know, they're actually a separate set of games. Mega Man like X, there's like 8 of them. Might be more. But from what I know, they're just like another like set, like a more modern take on these games. I don't know if they're necessarily remakes or more just like new versions of these, just literally new games, just like a whole new series, more futuristic. I think there's something specific about them that makes them different. But then they kind of fell off once Kenji and Twain left to go make Mighty Number 9. What is it? No, Mighty Number 9, yeah, which obviously didn't do well, and that's kind of why the Mega Man series kind of took a hit for a bit, and now they're coming back with like 11 and bringing those X games over to the new consoles in like a collection like they did with the old games.
Yeah, I guess so. Dana, do you have a lot of experience with Mega Man, and are you excited for this at all?
I don't have much experience with Mega Man. I just find it also hilarious that he's going to be in Monster Hunter World, but he's not a playable character, which I thought was just a missed opportunity for just hilariousness.
Yeah, that is a little confusing, but I guess
Yeah, I don't understand
it's good. It's nice fan service.
Yeah, I didn't understand what the purpose of doing that was.
Fan service. Gotta give something to the people.
Yeah.
For the Mega Man fans, because you gotta understand, the Mega Man fans have been very distraught, very upset recently because Mighty Number 9 dropped last year, so and that didn't meet their expectations, so a lot of them are kind of antsy.
See, that's the problem right now. The Mighty Number 9 was horrible, and I wouldn't want to be teased again with another Mega Man and then know that he's not playable. He's just sitting there in the game, and you can listen to like some of his music while doing the game. So I just thought that was really cheap. That's cheesy to me. That's just like a bigger insult. You create a crappy game, and now it's like he's in this game, but here's some music instead because he's not playable. It's silly. But if they do, get the franchise back, where it's playable at least, then that's something that's to look forward to. But to just tease them with what was now announced was just stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they were just like too lazy. Not necessarily too lazy. That's probably not the right word choice, but like just didn't want to make him into like the type of character that you need to play as like when you're playing Monster Hunter. Because I know that in Monster Hunter you do a bunch of ridiculous stuff. I think that's pretty funny. That's a funny way of looking at it. You're right. Like these people are probably like, what the hell? Why would you just introduce him and not allow us to play as him? That is kind of weird because it's not like he fits into that game at all in any way, shape, or form. But Capcom has always been kind of weird sometimes, like especially with like Dead Rising. They've always like done weird stuff and had like Mega Man suits and stuff like that. But this is a very weird integration of that. I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely a little weird because obviously you're gonna have on on the PlayStation you're gonna have Aloy from Horizon, and she definitely fits the bill. Like she fits into the world. But Mega Man is a bit it's a bit of a weird choice to include, but I think it's strictly fan service for Mega Man fans. And obviously it's Capcom related, so I guess they thought, why not just put this in there for people who might like it. I guess. But yeah, playing him would be a bit crazy in that world. I think like yeah, it would stand out. But yeah, new Mega Man's coming, so hopefully Mega Man fans are happy now. Mighty Number Nine was definitely terrible, but and that left a lot of people unhappy, left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But now Capcom is finally getting back to Mega Man, so I think that's good news overall. Hopefully they do it justice though. So yeah, any final thoughts on that before we move on?
I guess I just have to say, well, right now the trailer looked a bit rough to me. The animations looked a bit rough, like stiff, and the art style looked like it just needed a bit more pizzazz. Obviously the games are coming out for another year, so I don't think that's much to worry about right now. Otherwise, it looked great. Like it looked like a work in progress that's about to be something really cool. But you never know. We only saw a couple minutes of footage. But
Yeah,
I
hopefully
hope.
that.
I hope.
Yeah, like you said, hopefully that is just a case of them showing a really early build, and hopefully by the time it does come out, it'll be a lot more refined, a lot more smooth, and definitely a lot better, a lot less rough.
Yeah, because
I
that's like
just
the
I
point
just
of it.
hope they don't rush it.
Me too, dude. Right? Me too.
Yeah, man. But moving on, Dana is going to take the lead here, but there was some news about Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. So
Yeah,
getting
really random. During the PSX event, Sony Entertainment released a teaser trailer for their new movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is going to be a computer-generated movie about Miles Morales, which of course, brought me to tears because finally we got Black Spider-Man. It was very short, and basically it showed Miles in the Spider-Man costume going through New York City, and him, swinging from the air and going through the subway system, only to find out that there are more Spider-Mans in this universe, and it cuts to all these different spiders biting people, and in the background you get to see like different Spider-Mans. So that is coming out in 2018, and it looked, even in like the 1 minute 18-second trailer, the animation looked so beautiful. It's like this hyper realism type thing with these quick like cut scenes, and it just looks like something that is going to be amazing in 2018. It's directed and written by Chris Lloyd. What is it? No. What is it? The guys who did the Lego movie and then the Batman movies. So it's going to be fun and interesting, and it'll have a good story. But that's what's known. They didn't announce who the villain is going to be at all, but they did say that Liev Schreiber is going to voice the guy.
that's pretty dope. I definitely want to say I would like to see Marvel do a lot more like animated Marvel movies and stuff. On the
Yeah.
scale up, because we know that DC like a lot of the times their animation are way better than like the live action movies and everything. So
They're commercial action movies.
say that again.
I said their basic commercials are better than the live action movies.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think because Marvel has so many characters, and I feel like they could flesh out a lot of them if they got into doing animated stuff a lot more on definitely on this scale. And we know with Disney they have a lot of talent in terms of creating animated movies, and especially ones like this where it's more computer graphic based. It's that Pixar kind of style. A Pixar Marvel movie would be incredible as well, but yeah, I would definitely like to see a lot more of this. So I hope that this is successful. Yeah, Max, did you get to check it out at all?
I haven't, but I can say that I know while Marvel has always killed it in the live action space compared to DC, I know that, like you guys said, DC has always had the better animation. So it would be nice if Marvel could catch up in that space as well and actually kind of play the floor in both spaces, because from what I know, DC absolutely destroys Marvel in the animated space. Hello, hello.
Yep, I hear you.
Okay. Uh-oh, Gary, did you cut out? Interesting, he's not muted. And
We lost the man. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that it's also not a part of the MCU. So if anyone's looking for any type of Avengers connection, that's not going to happen.
No, it's just kind of its own standalone thing.
Yeah, its own standalone thing. And it'll create its own universe.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer pop up and I meant to watch it just because it sounds interesting, but no, I didn't get a chance to watch it. But oh well. Yeah, R.I.P. We lost the man. We lost the man of the hour, Gary Swaby. Maybe try refreshing. That's weird. This has never happened before.
That is weird. It's usually everyone else but Gary.
Yeah. No, right? Gary's always the one without any connection issues. We all end up dying and not being able to hear us. Oh, well. It's interesting, though, because I know JJ and Rich are over at PSX. I hope they're having a better time, because I know that Rich was having some issues getting out there with like flights and stuff. And they had some hotel issues and everything. So I hope that they're able to just kind of chill out and have some good stuff for us when they get back.
Oh, yeah. Richard was able to see some things when he finally got there, I think yesterday.
Yo.
Oh.
Hello. Hey, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. My connection messed up, so I apologize.
No, your internet expressed.
Yeah, pretty much. It was really random. But yeah, what was you guys discussing just now?
We were just discussing the PSX part with Gary, or with JJ and Rich.
Okay. What, like the fact that they're there now and stuff?
Yeah, just because you were dead, so we were trying to fill up the space. Because we didn't want to transition into PSX without you.
And I was also that the movie will not be connected to Marvel's Cinematic Universe at all.
Cool. Yeah, so if you guys haven't checked out the trailer for that, then definitely do so. It's on the website now. So definitely check that out. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But yeah, let's transition then into the recaps, I guess. We'll start with the Game Awards first. And I will say, surprisingly, there's a lot more talking points from the Game Awards than PSX, but we'll get to that soon. But yeah, so the Game Awards, there's quite a few things to talk about. Obviously there was Soul Calibur 6 announcement, which caught everyone off guard because no one was really expecting that. And I'd say that it's very good to see that return, because although we've had a lot of great fighting games this year, I feel like, Injustice and Marvel vs. Capcom are more aimed at, the casual audience and stuff. Like those are games that you can pick up and enjoy and have fun with without having to, be too skilled in it. But games like Tekken, they're a bit more obscure and, less less mainstream, I guess. I mean, obviously they are popular, but you know, those are more skill focused fighters, and I think Soul Calibur fits into that category. So it's nice to see, you know, a more skill based fighter like that, you know, returning. And I
Yeah,
know,
Soul Calibur is super technical, isn't it?
yeah, super technical. I was never good at that game ever, but
Yeah.
it's still fun. It's a fun game to play around with, but yeah, you
Yeah, it
do have
is.
to know what you're doing. But
I remember Soul Calibur 4 when it came out, when I just got my 360. That was one of the first games I had got, and it was like my first real fighting game. And I was ass at it, of course, but I remember because their character creator is so ridiculous. I just made like a colored knight with like each fighting style. And I know that people do crazy things, like they make Sonic and stuff in the character creator, which is really funny. Um, Based on like other players' fighting styles, and they use like a giant ring as like the weapon. So it's really cool that Soul Calibur kind of does that kind of stuff. Because I'm pretty sure Soul Calibur 5, like I'm pretty sure that just came and went. Like I didn't see a lot of talk about that. I'm not into the fighting game community, so maybe it was more popular than I thought it was. But it seemed to me like everything else is kind of taken over, like Mortal Kombat and Injustice and Tekken, like you said, and everything. So it's good to see Soul Calibur still alive and kicking, because I know that this is like an OG franchise. Soul
yeah,
Calibur is.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, the Soul Calibur 5 definitely did come and go. So hopefully this one sticks around a lot more and people, you know, really get invested into it. Um, Dana, do you have any thoughts on Soul Calibur and the trailer?
I just know that I suck at it, but I still get excited to see it. I am very excited that they announced it. I just wish that they gave a little bit more details aside from, you know, what platform it'll be available on. Yeah, but I'm excited.
Cool. Um, yeah, so there was a few other announcements as well, like Bayonetta 2. Did anyone play the last Bayonetta on
I did not yet play Bayonetta 2. I've been meaning to very badly because I love the first game, and one of my friends has the second one, and he's been trying to get me to play it, and I've been meaning to. But the fact that they're bringing out a Bayonetta 3 when Bayonetta 2 didn't even sell well because it was only on the Wii U is just the best thing in the world. This is probably my favorite announcement at the entire Game Awards.
Really?
And the fact that they're also porting the first two to the Switch. Yeah, dude, I love Bayonetta 1. That game is incredible. And the fact that they're porting the first two to the Switch is awesome as well. Because, like I said, 2 didn't do very well because it was on the Wii U and Nintendo like had published it, and it wouldn't have happened otherwise if Nintendo didn't publish it. So like it's obviously it's awesome they did that. So the fact that this franchise is still alive and kicking is awesome to me.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think it's the progression of this series is definitely interesting because obviously, you know, the first one was like multi-platform, and then, like you said, you know, Nintendo picked up the second one, and obviously, not everybody had a Wii U, so that kind of alienated a lot of potential players of Bayonetta 2. So I think it's real great that they're choosing to, you know, bring the first and the second game over to the Nintendo Switch as well as the third. So that's super cool. And
And
you know, lot,
how this is an exclusive, and they're taking, you know, that opportunity to get more people to buy the Switch by making it exclusive.
yeah, yeah, it's very smart of them, I think. Like, you know, give people more choices and stuff like that. The game looks great, the trailer looks great, and everything. I don't know too much about, you know, the Bayonetta series, but it's like one of those games that I would like to play, you know, given the chance. So if I ever get a Switch, it will be on my list.
It's a very over the top kind of DMC style game, like action game.
Yeah, that's exactly my style. I think I like those
Yep.
kind of games.
Oh yeah, you'd love it, and
Um,
it's so much more in depth than you think it is. Like it's crazy how much it throws at you, and I can't even imagine what the second one does to change that and make it even better.
yeah, indeed. Um, so I'm not sure, you know, if either of you actually got the chance to play Breath of the Wild, but they announced some DLC for the game.
Oh,
Either of you got any thoughts on that? Dana, did you play it?
I did. I liked it. I thought it was very beautiful, and I thought it was well done. I'm extremely excited for the expansion pack, even though I think it's getting a little weird, and I'm wondering, is this the right direction for the game? They're going to have a motorcycle in the next expansion, which is going to be the champions of what are the champions ballad. So I think I'm excited, and I liked what they did with the game initially. It's very beautiful. I love the story. The gameplay is very simple. It's very easy to follow. Nothing complicated. And I'm a fan of the Zelda series. It was one of the first. Sorry, excuse me. One of the first games that I played when I got my Nintendo 64. And so I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. How about you, Max? Do you have much experience with Zelda or Breath of the Wild?
I've played a couple of hours of it. I've seen one of my old roommates play a bit of it. I know it sounds weird, but the motorcycle actually does kind of fit with the way the world works and how it's laid out, honestly. It's so big and you're spending so much time running. Like, it's not necessarily a complaint. In my eyes, at least, I could see some people getting kind of sick of it, especially now, like that everyone who like has it is beating it for the most part, and they're just going around doing collectibles and like just kind of playing cleanup. So it's nice for them to throw that in. And I know there's still like the extra DLC, like hard mode and like the extra dungeons. And I think there's more story content coming as well, unless that's this expansion. So it's cool of them to kind of throw that in. It's kind of like 15. Once you beat the game, you get the flying car. So like everything just goes quicker. It's pretty much that, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's a bit ridiculous, but it's nice of them to add in. It's them having a little fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely sounds interesting, and I know there's a lot of hardcore Zelda fans out there. Obviously, they were happy with the choices made at the Game Awards, but we'll get to that in a sec. So yeah, other announcements and trailers. There was obviously something from Metro Exodus, which is looking great. And we also got to see the new game from the Firewatch team, which I know Dana is excited about. That's called Valley of the Gods. I don't know too much about the premise of that game, but I do know it looks fantastic. Like the trailer was great.
I was so happy.
Tell us about it.
I'm so happy. Okay, basically, it takes place in Europe, not Europe. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, in Egypt. It's a first-person narrative that's basically all about adventure. And they said that you'll be able to explore ancient valleys in the Egyptian desert and uncover treasure and treachery, and you have to protect your fortune. And it also brings you a lot of fame. But with that fame, there are also people who are going to be after you to also steal your gold, your valuables, or just basically to try to kill you. Also, you have the environment, which is very unpredictable. So there's sand dunes and other things that you can get trapped in, and it can also kill you. It's coming to Steam. There's no release date announced yet, and I just wanted to say how beautiful it looked, and to see games with like people of color, the characters in it, just brought me such joy. So I'm very happy for that.
Yeah, it definitely looks great. Did either of you play Firewatch? Because I heard like mixed reviews about that game.
I have not.
Yeah,
but
I haven't either.
Better.
You what?
I heard it's better than Firewatch.
Oh,
so if anyone has played it and didn't like it, you might have a better chance with this game.
From what I know about Firewatch is that it's apparently a really awesome game. It's a walking sim for the most part, from what I know, but apparently it turns into something really cool. Excuse me, in terms of story. But from what I know, the people's biggest problem with it was that you could beat it in like less than an hour. Like, if you guys remember when it came out, like there was this whole controversy over people beating the game and then refunding it, and like trying to argue that that was valid because it was under 2 hours, and like that was a whole argument and everything. It's like, well, I that we don't need to get into that right now, but from what I know, people who weren't mad about that and actually just like talked about the game, people loved it. And it's something I definitely want to try. I will say, for only 2 hours or so, but if it's a game that I would get on sale or like could just play through at a friend's, I would love to. It seems like the type of game I would absolutely love to play like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems cool. I realized I kind of brushed over the Metro Exodus thing. Max, are you excited for that game? Did you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm pumped as hell for Metro. I still have yet to beat the second one. I'm like halfway through it now, but this is a series I've picked up earlier this year. Same with Wolfenstein, actually, the new one. Just try out, and the first game absolutely hooked me. I don't know what it is. It's like I have this thing for like almost horror games, like thriller games, like how I was talking about Prey earlier. These are just the types of games that just hook me, and I don't know why that is. I think it's just because like I like psychological kind of thriller stuff. I like stuff that like basically seeing how creative the writers can get in terms of like fucking with you. So I think that that's why these types of games hook me. And Metro, especially this new one, this is like the first time where it's going to be like semi open world. This is the first time where you can explore the open world, like where it's not just death and snow, like above ground, where like there's actual greenery and grass, unless that changes in the latter half of the second game. But it's really cool. It looks like they're taking the series in kind of a new direction, kind of like how The Witcher 2 to The Witcher 3 kind of jumped. This looks to be like that kind of jump, and I hope to God ever undersold. But I hope that this kind of brings the Metro series more into like the limelight and to like the holy shit, everyone needs to play this game type of thing. You know, I will say I do get kind of annoyed with open world games nowadays because that's been like the trend, and I don't want to spend 80 hours in every game I play nowadays just to get the content. So I hope that this is kind of a blend between linear and open world where it's not just like math, but just have bigger areas, which I think they said it's going to be. So that's like perfect for me. Whereas like that's like how Prey is too. Like each area is a decent size, but it's not like open world per se. So that really appeals to me, and I can't wait for it. And just seeing more Metro and having it just be here in my life again is just exciting. I absolutely can't wait. It's a very cool, creative, kind of niche series that I think needs to be played by more people.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely feel like, you know, adding a new kind of palette to the game and adding more color and stuff is definitely going to attract a lot more people, because although the first two games, they looked fantastic, and you know, I actually own them. I just never got around to playing them. But I think, you know, the real grim and gritty kind of look probably turned some people off a little bit. But like the fact that they've kind of, you know, added a bit more vibrancy to it now, and that it's actually taking place outside, I think that's going to attract a lot more people to the game as well.
Right. And it's cool because Exodus means like a mass departure of people. Like it means like moving. So what I imagine the plot is like everyone's going to try and repopulate like above ground again, now that like probably the radiation has gone after all this time or something like that. Or maybe they like found somewhere that's finally safe. So that's going to make for an interesting story, assuming that they play it off right, which they probably will, because these are based off of like books and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. So like the lore is there.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds a lot like Fallout kind of style, like in terms of like the premise and the world and stuff like that. So
definitely.
Yeah, definitely sounds good. Dana, you got any thoughts on Metro?
No, just that it seems interesting, and I'm looking forward to what is going to happen.
Okay, so yeah, I definitely want to get to Death Stranding, of course. You know, we got to talk about that, but I am gonna you know, just kind of mention a couple of other things that were announced, and then you know, you guys can chime in if you have anything specifically to say. So there was that game called GTFO. You know, like get the fuck out or whatever. Like, did you guys see that, and do you have any interest in that game?
I didn't see it. No. This is news to me.
I
Interesting
briefly
name.
saw it. I was really confused by it. And yeah, it was just weird. But the trailer itself was really good. It just was just really weird though.
Yeah, yeah, it was very strange.
It was
But
like some type of scary game.
mhm.
It's like a horror thing. And I know that you get to play as scavengers and you have to explore the world around you. And the goal is to, get as much valuable artifacts as you can. And everything takes place underground. But of course, since it's like a horror game, it's overran by monsters, which looked really terrifying. And you have to get like weapons and tools and resources. It's basically every other survival game out there. But it did look really good.
Yeah.
So that's where the name GTFO, comes into place. You have to survive these tunnels while collecting artifacts and trying to stay alive.
Yeah, very interesting choice of name. Definitely stands out, and that might help them, in terms of hooking potential customers and stuff, I guess. But yeah, it didn't really do much for me personally, but I just found the name interesting. Um, and there was also an announcement for World War Z. Now, I never saw the movie or anything, but what's the actual source material for this? Was it a comic? Was it a movie? Or like
So
what is
it's
this?
originally based on a book.
Yeah.
Um, oh gosh, yeah. It was based on a book like that came out around 2006, and the movie itself came out in 2013, which starred Brad Pitt, and it was just basically Brad Pitt trying to stop what was a zombie apocalypse from happening, and you had that big scene where all the zombies are crawling, trying to get over to the other side of a wall. I saw the trailer. I was not impressed. I think that what are we like 4 years too late? Probably 5 years now. Way too late for there to be a game. I think that it's oversaturated with all these survival apocalypse zombie type video games, and I felt nothing for it.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there. Like I'm all the way over the zombie apocalypse craze. The Walking Dead TV show just needs to end, in my opinion. And yeah, like games of zombies just don't do anything for me unless it's the Telltale games, because at least like the story is really well developed in that case. But yeah, like all these zombie games, like they're just kind of a turn off to me, and I just completely shut off whenever I see one. But yeah, Max, do you have any thoughts?
Um, I'm more optimistic for it than you guys are. That's for sure. So it's interesting because like I love the book, and the movie has absolutely nothing to do with the book. It's just based in name alone.
Yeah.
Movie was basically just like you said, Dana, just like kind of the war happening, whereas the book is actually it had already happened and it's a retelling of it. Like the book is like survivors like telling stories and talking about what happened during the war, and it looks like the game is going to follow up more along the movie,
Yeah.
from what I can tell. More is because these zombies aren't like the Walking Dead zombies or anything like that. These are more honestly Days Gone. That took a lot more inspiration from World War Z that I can tell. Like those types of zombies, those are the zombies that are like in World War Z, like just forms. Like these are not zombies you escape from or can just gun down and run away. Like these are zombies that if these zombies like start chasing you, you're dead. Like this is scary zombies. So that kind of intrigues me. I don't really know how that would translate into gameplay though. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. And I think the reason it's coming out is because there's still supposed to be a second movie coming out like soon year. So they're probably trying to capitalize on that. So I wouldn't get my hopes up too high for this game because of that as well, because it might just try and be a movie tie-in or some shit. But if they actually put effort into this and make it kind of stand on its own, then I have hopes for it. I'm excited for it because I do still like zombies. Because to be honest, I kind of jumped off the zombie train. I think before it got too oversaturated. Like I think the last zombie game I really played was like the first Dead Island, and then I was done. Or maybe that was the peak of the zombie craze, to be honest with you. I don't remember, but I am ready for zombies again. I do kind of miss them. I always loved them. So if this is, I wouldn't mind jumping into this type of game. I know Days Gone also looked really interesting to me. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But there's also State of Decay coming. So there are multiple zombie games coming again. What, Dana?
You went from being really excited to like, meh.
I know, now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm putting more thought into like everything else that's coming out, and I'm just kind of like, I'm optimistic for it still, though, because it's my favorite type of zombie, the ones that are actually hard and scary, kind of like how Left 4 Dead was. I honestly, now that I think about it, this could work as a Left 4 Dead style game. It could totally work as that, because it's like Left 4 Dead type zombies, but way more hordes. So it could work. I don't know. We'll see. We have to see the gameplay first. But I'm optimistic.
Yeah, like the way you just described it does make it seem, a bit more intriguing. But like, I think with me, the main thing is like with zombie games is I don't like it when like killing the zombies is like the main entire focus kind of thing. Like I kind of like with the early seasons of Walking Dead and the Telltale versions and stuff. I like when it kind of shows you like the problems with humanity. Like they use the zombies as a way to show like how the problems with humans, and just tell like a very human kind of story set within this zombie apocalypse and stuff. So I like the focus to be about how people come together to overcome problems, instead of just like being entirely focused on killing zombies, like and waves of zombies back to back kind of thing. So if it's a bit more introspective like that, then that's it's definitely more appealing. But yeah, I'm probably still not going to rush out to buy it unless I see something specifically that intrigues me about it. So
definitely. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You're totally right, because like the Walking Dead TV show has kind of lost that, I feel like. Whereas the first few seasons were like that, where like the point is it's not about the zombies, it's about the humans.
Yeah.
And I will say the book does that well. The movie does not. World War Z movie is just really all about fucking killing zombies. So that's also why it's interesting, because we still don't know which source material it's pulling from, or maybe it's not pulling from either and just sharing the name. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, Dana, you sounded like you had something to say.
No, it's just I have no feeling towards this.
Okay.
I'm just so aggravated by it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so moving on, there was also some Warframe news as well. I'm not sure if you guys have played that, but it definitely made me want to get into it, because I actually like downloaded Warframe when it first came out like years ago. I think it was around like 2012, 13 or something like that. But I just never played it and never got into it for some reason. But I've always been intrigued by it. And shouts to Brian from the Throwdown. Like he's put in mad hours in that game. Like he plays it like I play Overwatch kind of thing. Like it's just he plays that a lot. And I've always kind of been intrigued by it, and it looks pretty fun if you get into it. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be too intimidating for me if I get into it now. But that seems cool. Have you guys played Warframe at all?
I have like 20 hours in it from earlier this year, which is nothing. That's absolutely nothing. I've learned, but I know a few people that love the franchise or the series, the game. It's one game. But I 100% admire their business model. They're the type of game that when it first came out, it was just like your average free-to-play MMO and no one really cared for it. But they just kind of kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And what they did was they listened to their community, and like every few months, they apparently like revamped the game. So they've built up this massive following of just like dedicated, loyal players. And it's turned into this phenomenon where it's probably one of the healthiest communities out there. It's filled with people. People just keep jumping on. Their numbers are only rising. It's entirely fair, free to play. Like you never have to spend a dime, or you never feel like you need to, because there's just absolutely so much to do. And like there's all these like cool theories around it. Like apparently like 120 hours in, the game completely changes and becomes this whole new thing. Like you do the story quest and like this unspoken rule where absolutely no one will spoil it for you. Like they're all like, no, you need to play that if you haven't yet. Like everyone loves it. And it's just this really cool feeling. And it's something I want to get into. And from what I know, this new stuff that they're showing is like some sort of new open world area that they're introducing to the game, because most of it's kind of linear, randomly generated missions and levels. But it's the type of game where if you want to play it, you need to play it like Gary plays Overwatch. Like you need to invest in it if you want anything out of it. And it hooks you apparently. Like I didn't want to stop at those 20 hours. I just there's other things to do. But it's the type of game that out of time with. And like it just changes. Even 110 hours in, it becomes a new game. Like that's the type of game this is. Actually, a couple of years ago, did an amazing article on like the development of Warframe and everything, and it's really cool. They're like CD Projekt Red in terms of developers and like how people respect them and see them.
Cool. Like you just really sold the game. Like now I actually want to play it. But yeah, like at some point in time, I really want to do like a discussion or show or something about like online game communities and how they really can affect the experience of a game. Because I feel like with these continuing online games, the community is a major part in your level of enjoyment and your experience with the game. Because with Overwatch, like I love it, and I'm probably not going to stop playing it anytime soon. But the community has gotten so toxic that it can discourage a lot of people from from playing it, and there has been a lot of people who have turned away from it because of the the level of toxicity that goes on in the game. But the way you described Warframe, it sounds like great, and I like to hear about positive communities that encourage new players and are helpful to the new players. So that
Definitely.
sounds cool. Yeah. So yeah, moving on, I definitely want to highlight, like, this is probably the best moment of the Game Awards for me personally. So before they showed A Way Out, obviously the director of the game, he was invited to have a discussion with Jeff Keighley, and he did not talk about the game at all. He instead took time to curse out the Oscars. He said F the Oscars, and he seemed like he was drunk or something, or he was high on Xanax or Molly pills or something like that. Like he was just going crazy, like dissing the Oscars for no reason at all. And Jeff Keighley's face was like priceless. And yeah,
That was
it was just, yeah, it was hilarious. What did you guys think of that incident and A Way Out as well, the game itself? Go ahead, Max.
I thought the incident was hilarious. I'm surprised there isn't more backlash towards it, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was funny as hell, just completely out of nowhere. In terms of the game, I think it looks fine. It's an EA game, so I just don't expect it to be good. I'm not gonna lie. That just tarnishes everything, even though I like the idea of it. And if it ends up being good, I'd love to play it. But like I just no, after Battlefront 2 and everything in Andromeda, I just don't care about EA.
Yeah,
no desire.
I feel that I'm not interested in the game at all. I'm more interested in the director because he was hilarious. I would like to see him like work on a day-to-day basis. Like what's his like interaction with the game? Like how does he lead a team like that? That would be hilarious to see. But yeah, Dana, any thoughts on A Way Out or the director?
I, guys, think it's wonderful, and I'm looking forward to it. And of course, I love the director, and that whole monologue that he gave was just hilarious. He also cursed out EA as well. So, to me, I think it's an interesting concept where you have to work together, and it's not online. You have to do regular old fashioned with your friends on a couch, and you play, and you have to work together in order to not get captured by the police again, and you break out of this prison. So I'm looking forward to it. I think I actually like it, and I like the concept.
So it's not online at all. It's like strictly co-op with
From
the controllers.
not online at all.
Okay, well, I guess that
Which I
could be
think could be an
good.
issue.
Need to be played with another person, and that there is a new free trial option, and that if you buy the game, you'll get another copy to share with a friend, so you can play together.
See, the idea
Interesting.
is cool there. And like their first game, Brothers, I think it's The Tale of Two Sons is the subtitle.
Yep.
It's cool. It's like a neuter take on this. It's where you control each character with one stick. Like the left stick is one brother, the right stick is the other. So this is kind of like an evolution on that. But again, the idea is cool, but I just don't see it doing well, especially because you can't play online. I get that you should be in the same room, but that's just not much of a thing anymore. People don't do that much anymore, which I worry will ruin the game for a lot of people. Or not necessarily ruin the game, but ruin like the sales, and that people won't buy it and stuff, and it won't do as well as it should. Because the idea is cool. Like you guys said, like it's definitely an interesting take, but it's one of those ideas that like it's cool in practice, but like I feel like people won't really jump onto.
Yeah, see,
Sucks.
the reason I was gonna say that sounds good is because the fact that it's not online means that EA can't add loot boxes and all types of stuff to try and get people to, spend extra money. But what you said does make sense. I will say there are, rare occasions and extra emphasis on the word rare, but there are rare occasions where, sometimes like, I'll be with my brother or I'll be with a friend, and it would be cool to just have a game that we can kind of like co-op or something. And that's not really a thing these days because obviously everything is so online focused. So it would be nice to have the option, but like I said, it's a rare thing, so it's not all the time nowadays where you actually do want to co-op. It's more, you're more likely to go online anyway. But just to have an option like that is cool. But like you said, the game probably won't do well. Probably won't do mass sales or anything like that. But the concept is cool. What was you gonna say, Daniel?
They just now added an option for you to play online as well.
Oh, they did.
Oh, they did.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
So,
cool.
so when was that announced?
Today.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I kind of figured like, it was weird that a game was just not online at all. But yeah, yeah, A Way Out seems cool, so I'll keep an eye on it. There was a tease from Software, and everybody was speculating whether it's Bloodborne or whether it's Demon Souls or Dark Souls or something completely new. It definitely seems very oriental and kind of like ninja kind of focus. Or yeah, you guys got any thoughts or predictions on what you think that game is?
I bet it's
Was that
Bloodborne because they said they're done with Souls for now. And Bloodborne 2 has been kind of like rumored for a while, but also that short trailer that looked straight out of Bloodborne. 100%.
Yeah, see, I think it's interesting because if it was Bloodborne, like my question is why wasn't it kind of shown at PSX? Like, because it's a PlayStation game essentially. But yeah, like I'm kind of hoping it's something else, to be honest. Like Bloodborne 2 will be great when it comes. I'm sure it is coming, but I want to see From Software do a lot more things. So I think it would be cool if it's a new IP even. But
Yeah, they said it was you.
it's a new IP.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, they did. I didn't know they said it was new.
They said it was something new, and that's literally all they said.
But he could have meant
Oh.
something new, as in like a new game from them. Like,
Oh, I
though
thought
it's-
I
it was like new. It's a brand new game.
I would really like something new from Software. Don't get me wrong, but like that looked straight out of Bloodborne to me, and a lot of people I know. To be fair, like, Souls and Bloodborne do have similar looks, so it's possible that this is just another game with just a similar look too. Like that's just kind of like the From style.
Yeah.
But I would bet money that this is Bloodborne 2, honestly, because that is weird that it wouldn't be shown at PSX. I don't know. Maybe Jeff Keighley convinced them. It's like, no, you guys got to present it here.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did seem to steal the good announcements. You know, there wasn't. We'll get to that anyway. Yeah. So Bloodborne. I mean, not Bloodborne. Sorry, Death Stranding. Obviously, you know, this has been a hot topic of discussion. You know, the trailer they showed, nobody could really make sense of it, but it definitely seems intriguing. Me personally, I'm a big fan of Kojima, and I'm confident, you know, that he's going to put something incredible out. But you know, I'm not the type of person to really like pay attention to or overanalyze trailers until I at least see some gameplay, some actual gameplay, and until, you know, I can get better, clearer understanding of what's being offered. I feel like there's a lot of people who are just excited just because they are Kojima fans. But, you know, I am able to separate, you know, being a fan of someone and actually analyzing the work that's been presented so far. And so far, you know, I'm not hugely impressed, but that the trailer was definitely something, you know, something interesting, you know. So I want to get your thoughts on the Death Stranding trailer that was shown at the Game Awards. So do you want to go first, Dana?
I was confused with everybody else, but I was so fascinated by it. It was basically similar to the other trailer that we got before, but the addition was they did have the baby in the tube, which beforehand we just saw like a weird fetus baby that Norman Reedus was carrying around from the previous trailer. So now we got to, I guess, know where the baby's origin. I don't really know if that's proper to say. And he somehow seemed to be in his mouth. So I'm not sure if he's like pregnant with a baby or he's trying to swallow the baby for protection. But we got the baby, more information about the baby, and we also got, it seems to be like a huge man monster that was in the back that we seem to be, I have no idea where he came from or even what like he's made out of, but we got that. And the opening I thought was really interesting, that it was something so horrible that there was this guy who got captured by, I guess, like one of the tentacles of this big statue of a monster or man, that he stabbed himself to death. And if anybody knows anything about stabbing, it's not exactly that easy to go around stabbing people. So to stab yourself to death repeatedly, that, you know, he was definitely, you know, death was more of a better choice than being alive by whatever it was that was coming after these guys. So I thought it was just really weird. But it just seems so intriguing at the same time. I just wish we had gameplay. And this is like, I don't know, Guillermo is good for teasing us with random things. But it still looked interesting.
Yeah, I think I actually did read somewhere that there was a part in that trailer that was like actually a playable part, but it was like a very small snippet of what we saw, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not going for that. I want to see like a full gameplay reveal kind of thing before I
You
get,
know,
you know.
well, I think that it will be genius of them of not to release any type of gameplay, but the next time that they make an announcement, it's just to say, "Hey, the game is available now." Didn't they do that before with like that PT game?
Yeah, kind of.
So
Yeah,
just only surprise us.
yeah, that would be cool. I did also like hear one theory where they were saying like one of the concepts of the game is like if you die in the game, like you're not just presented with like a game over screen or anything like that. You're actually like a sequence of events happens that you kind of have to like play through and that might have kind of been what we saw a little bit. But yeah, Max, what's your thoughts on Death Stranding after seeing that?
I thought the trailer was dope. It was obviously confusing as hell. One thing that is nice though is that Mark Cerny, who's like, as we know, like one of the Sony execs, he did come out and say that the trailer makes sense after playing the game for like 4 to 5 hours. Like the trailer and everything makes sense. So at least we have that going for us. But I thought that the trailer definitely introduced a few things that could make for interesting gameplay. Like obviously those things on the suits that like popped up and like tended or pointed towards like those goopy things, the goo that like kind of takes people and eats them. So that's cool. And like Dana, you were saying earlier about the guy stabbing himself to death, that's definitely a valid point, because remember there's that guy getting dragged away by the goo and like he ends up shooting his teammate and then they just like drop it. So they do want these people alive, obviously. Like it makes sense that they want these people alive. So I would also play into the theory that you just brought up, Gary, where you definitely have to like play through something, because I'm guessing you don't die, because if you die, like those things don't want you. Maybe it's over now. So that's definitely going to be interesting, though I could see that getting a bit annoying if you always have to go through something when you die. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance that out. I also really liked how at the end, Norman Reedus brought up the fact that like there's about to be a second Big Bang, because I don't think that we thought that there would be like a Big Bang or like anything natural disasters that would have to do with anything to do with the story of this game. So that's cool. The baby makes no sense to me at all. I'm sure that's going to be some sort of gameplay element. That seems to be central to the entire story. But I don't know. That's not much we could draw from it. I think the trailer definitely brought up a lot more questions than it did give us answers, but that's probably Kojima's point. I'm sure he's doing that on purpose. And I feel like we won't really know anything until we beat the game, to be completely honest with you. I don't think we're going to get much out of this early stuff, no matter, even like before launch. I still don't think we're going to get much of a sense of what this game is until we get to play it ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. I think that's how it should be. But
yeah, I think the reason I'm not really excited much is because obviously I don't know anything about it and I don't understand anything about it yet, like everyone else. But like this is definitely like Kojima's general style, and like he did things like this a lot with the Metal Gear, the Metal Gear Solid series. But it's just the fact that obviously I knew those characters and I knew that world already, so I was more excited every time I saw a trailer for those, because I could speculate on things. But with this, I can't really speculate as deeply because I don't know what's going on and stuff. So I'm sure once I, learn more about it and what it's actually about and what the babies are, I might get a bit more excited for it.
Well, don't forget they also announced that the game, I guess, the monster thing, he's there to extract life out of other people. So Norman Reedus being with the baby and him being so protective of the baby, may mean that there's life for next generation, and he has to be there to protect that child.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's a great point, actually. Sense. Even though it does not explain how the hell it's in Norman Reedus' chest. But
yeah.
Well, new technology, man, having babies. I don't know.
So, and that baby is like weirdly like aware of things. Like, doesn't it do like a shh or something when it's in his chest, or like it makes some sort of like motion towards us, which is creepy as hell.
Or maybe they're saying that you can transplant life into, I guess, random fetuses and then have that same conscience, but you're a baby.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Or maybe the baby is Norman Reedus. Like maybe he's just a shell and the baby is like the actual person kind of thing.
True.
And also,
I don't know, man.
It was pointed out by like some people online that there was like, if you look at the trailer, there's this insect that was crawling over Norman Reedus, his suit, and basically it was a bear bug, And those are like the tardigens or tardigrades, like they're actual bugs that can survive any condition at all. You can't burn it. It can't freeze to death. It lives out in Alaska, like in the coldest parts of Alaska, and it just comes out whenever it wants to. You cannot kill it. So that bug may also come into play and probably explain why it's crawling all over Norman Reedus's suit. So even though that it may be like the apocalypse that's going on, because remember, as you said previously, there was a second Big Bang and that was the end of everything. Those creatures are still alive.
Yeah, Kojima does do that too. Like he integrates like a variety of stuff into his ridiculous shit. So that actually makes a lot of sense. That could totally be it.
Yeah, remind me to never go to Alaska, please. I
Yeah,
can't do
that's
bugs.
awful.
Yeah. So yeah, Death Stranding, definitely interesting trailer. So yeah, just to close off our Game Awards recap, I am going to touch on some of the awards quickly. Obviously, you know, these awards, they're all subjective. You know, I mean, I don't consider these to be set in stone because everybody is capable of, you know, determining what their own, you know, game of the year is and stuff like that. But obviously, it's nice to see developers and studios get rewarded for their efforts. So, just quick thoughts on that from me. I didn't expect Persona 5 to win Game of the Year at all. You know, especially with Mario and Zelda in the category. I knew that probably one of those games was going to win, and of course, it was Zelda. But you know, I am glad that Persona 5 was at least nominated. And I think Nier Automata should have been nominated too, but hey, I can't complain with the winner at all. Like, obviously, they did deserve it. What I am mad at is that Persona 5 won Best RPG, but that didn't even happen on air. I think it happened like during a commercial or, you know, just off screen or something like that. I'm wondering if maybe that's because Atlas wasn't there, but yeah, I would have loved to have seen that on screen because I feel that game deserves to be honored. You know, I'm okay with Nier Automata winning Best Soundtrack because that did have a great soundtrack, but I still would have went Persona 5 just because I love that soundtrack more. It's cool to see Overwatch win, you know, Best Ongoing Game, and I like. It was sad that Horizon didn't win anything. I think I would have gave Horizon one of those other awards that Zelda won. I think Best Action Game or something like that. I think they should have gave Horizon that just so they get something because that was a great game this year. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the awards. Max, I know you have to go soon. Yeah, I know you have to go soon, so I'm going to go to you. What's your thoughts on the actual awards?
Honestly, pretty similar to yours. I mean, Zelda winning Game of the Year. I actually expected Mario to win over Zelda, but I think Zelda also deserves it from what I've seen, played, and heard about it. So I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I will say from what I've heard about Persona, though, it is a bit surprising it didn't win in more of the categories it's nominated in. Same with Horizon. Wasn't Horizon nominated for like 6 categories, but it didn't win?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's just partly because like it's at the beginning of the year and it was just in the back of everyone's heads, even though everyone loved it or something. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. I think it's interesting that Mario only won Best Family Game. Nintendo kind of outdid themselves with Zelda, kind of shunning out Mario, which is funny. Other than that, I don't really have any like hell yeahs or hell no's about any of the awards. To me, they don't really matter too much. They're interesting. I'm more interested in like the kind of stuff we get afterwards, like the trailers and stuff. But I do have to hear the Nier soundtrack. Really want to play that game. Yeah, I don't have too much to say on the nominations and everything. It was a good show, which is surprising. I will say that a lot of cool stuff was revealed. I don't think the awards were anything super surprising to anyone. aside from a few things like we just mentioned. But yeah, it was a good show overall.
Yeah. I do want to also mention that, like, I find it funny that the trending gamer or whatever was someone that nobody knew. Like, nobody knew who he was at all. Like, that was funny. But yeah. Dana, any thoughts on the winners of the actual awards and stuff?
I thought Mario Odyssey should have won Game of the Year. I am happy that it did win, some of its categories like Best Family Game. And sorry, technically it won also Best Strategy Game with Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So I'm very happy for Nintendo overall. They was able to pull themselves basically out of the gutter and come out on top. And no one really saw that coming. Everyone just kind of made fun of them and was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they proved themselves to be very powerful and have really great games. So I'm happy overall for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like Max said, I don't consider these awards to be like, the actual set in stone thing, and a lot of it is politics as well. But it's still good to see, these studios get honored and stuff for their work. What was you gonna say, Dana?
No, that was it. And your game won. So it was like I was happy for you. Your game won something.
Oh yeah, Overwatch. Yeah, like, to be honest, I feel like that whole category was set up for Overwatch to win anyway. Like, because what other game would win that? I mean, maybe PUBG, like, it would be close because the player base, but yeah, like, I feel like it was a setup for Overwatch to win that, and I'm glad they did, to be honest, because they are doing a great job.
And I'm also very happy for Cuphead. That was a very hard game to play and very hard for them to make. And to get that recognition was very well earned.
Yeah, definitely.
True, I forgot about that. That's true. Cuphead deserved what it won. It won what, best indie game and then something else too, right?
It
Best
won
art direction.
Right.
And a couple other.
That's awesome. That deserved it 100%.
For sure. But yeah, definitely a better show than last year, I think. But yeah, the Game Awards is what it is. So moving on to another event that happened this week, and surprisingly, well, in my personal opinion, I don't think it was as good as the Game Awards, and that's very surprising because of what we've come to expect of PlayStation experience. Obviously, the last few years have been, a big deal for Sony, and people had their expectations. But I do want to highlight the fact that, Sony did say ahead of time that, this was going to be a bit more scaled back than, what we were used to in previous shows. And yeah, it definitely was. Definitely was that. It wasn't, like, looking back, it wasn't worth me, kind of struggling to stay up for, because it happened at 4 a.m. here. And yeah, it was just, to me, it was like a cringy kind of show, and there wasn't really many major announcements from it. The final announcement was just like, meh. I never played Medieval at all, so I'm sure some people did and some people are excited, but I was a little like, wow, that's the final announcement. Okay. And I was also confused that they played the whole Death Stranding trailer again. And that's quite a lengthy trailer. So that was confusing. But yeah, PSX was PSX. I'm sure it's more, shout outs to Richard and JJ. I'm sure it's more interesting to actually be there than to watch it. I would even go as far as to say they probably shouldn't have even streamed it, to be honest. They should have just had it for the people that were there. And obviously they had Paris Games Week recently, and that seemed to be more like PSX to me than the actual PSX. So they definitely didn't need to have this. They didn't need to, do it because they already had a great year. But yeah, I think they should have, I don't know, they probably shouldn't have made as big a deal about it, I guess. Because this is just something I think that was probably better. Like, it was probably great for the people who were actually there, but for us watching it, it was just a little like meh. But Dana, what's your thoughts on PSX?
I was dying. I was legit dying. And what really sucked was the fact that they did have announcements, but because the show was so long and boring that you missed a lot of things. So that was really unfortunate, but I was dying. I and I can't even say, oh, it's a scaled back thing. You can put on a really great show with a projector and a couch and a microphone. But this was just horrible. And even the audience was like dead inside. They kept glancing over and you could see like there was like sparse clapping and people's eyes were beginning to fade and the souls was just draining out of them. It was terrible.
Yeah. So was there nothing you enjoyed at all? Well, I'm sure there was, because Detroit seemed to be the thing that everybody loved about the show.
I love Detroit Become Human. They also announced that they was going to be you get to ask about emotional shocks, which makes the game, more human and realistic. You get to learn more about the consequences of your actions that way. They did have some interesting, you know, show the trailers. The Donut County was weird as all can be. So was accounting. That was weird. I did like the fact that they did announce that God of War will be 35 to 40 hours long. So more to look forward to when that game releases.
Yeah, one thing I definitely want to point out is the lack of release dates. I feel like we should have been getting some solid release dates by now. And
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
part about it. That was unfortunate, but I'm for that because as I said previously, you announce a certain date and then your game's not ready and you have to keep pushing back that date. And then you can also lose sales by people who go out and pre-order. So I'm appreciative of them not opening their mouths and saying something that they can't back up.
So basically, we're in for a lot of
It's
pushbacks in
yeah, we have to
2010.
be in.
Yeah, see, it seems like a lot of these games are going to get delayed because it like they were currently they're scheduled for like early 2018. But if we haven't got a solid release date by now, I think it's pretty safe to say that some of these games are getting pushed back. But yeah, Detroit was a great demo. My thing is, like, if I'm already sold on a game, or if I already know that I'm probably going to play it, in some capacity or whatever, I don't like seeing too much of it, and I feel like they've shown too much of Detroit already, because
Really?
we've seen it at E3, at Paris Games Week. We've seen it at multiple events over the past couple years. So I feel like I've seen too much of the game now. And I already know that I want the game, so I don't want them to show me like entire missions. I get that it's going to be different when you play it because it changes, for everyone. But
Hmm.
still, like, I don't want to be overexposed to a game if I already know that I'm going to get it. You know, it's just like movies. I don't want to see too much of the movie in the trailer, kind of thing. Um,
Uh,
Do you think that they need to play sort of for not catch up, but well, do you think they need to like establish themselves better in the public eye after the whole, I will say, annoying controversy that happened with like their last reveal? Do you think they kind of feel like they need to like try and sell people again on it?
yeah, possibly. And I hate that, things like that occur because, like, I don't want to get into that, but yeah, I hate
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I hate that companies feel like they have to kind of dance on eggshells because people are oversensitive or don't understand art and video games. And what really annoys me is like movies and books and other mediums are free to explore whatever kind of content they want, but video games are, they get complained about if they try and do something a bit realistic and show what really happens in society and stuff. Like it's art, and art often imitates life. So like I don't see the problem. It's not like the game was designed to make you abuse children or anything like that. It's just, you know, a part of the story, and it's something that, you know, happens in reality. So I hate that, you know, developers and publishers feel like they have to kind of restrict certain things because of, you know, PR and press, media, and all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
like, yeah, if that's the case and they felt like they had to be a bit more restricted, that's kind of sad, and you know, I feel bad for them in that case.
And it sucks too, because it's like if people want video games to like be realized as more of like a quote unquote art form and like be respected more, like they need to tackle subjects like this, you know?
Yeah,
And it's like if you're gonna shun them for doing it, then it's like, well, no one can win here.
exactly. Yeah, because it's like there's people out there in society who believe that video games are something that's still only for kids, and so then, you know, when they see more mature games like this, they complain about it, and then, you know, that then kind of stunts the growth of video games, and then developers are going to feel like they have to kind of cater more towards kids, and things have to be more family friendly again, and then, you know, it goes back to being, you know, something that's primarily for kids or families. And you know, it's just we want to see video games grow. I'm not saying like every game has to be mature or violent or anything, but there should be a variety for everyone, and there should be no complaints with that, you know, because there's something for everyone at that point, just like with every other, you know, medium. But yeah, uh
It's just
Max.
frustrating and it's tough, you know. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, carry on.
I was just gonna say it's like frustrating. It's a tough line to cross, especially with like the political state we're in right now. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like entertainment has always gone in this kind of route. It portrays life realistically, and sometimes people just don't want to see that out of their entertainment, I guess.
Mhm.
But I don't know. It entirely depends on the person you are and the intentions of the developers and everything. And I really don't think the intentions of, excuse me, the people developing Detroit really want to portray child abuse or anything like that, and like just to do it. I really don't think that's their intention at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, but
yeah.
Max, for you specifically, like, you know, being someone who doesn't have a PS4 at the moment, was there anything that kind of intrigues you from this? I know you probably didn't watch it live or anything, but like based on what you've read and what you've heard, was there anything that kind of piqued your interest?
I mean, Detroit definitely piques my interest. That game always has. A lot of the games that are coming out have like God of War looks really cool. Obviously, the Insomniac Spider-Man game, like can't wait for that stuff. But in terms of like the actual show and everything I've been reading, things are pretty similar to everyone else's. Like Medieval, I know there was like a Twitter campaign like a couple weeks ago now to kind of get that brought back. So I wonder if that started from like a rumor or something. There's also one for Spyro the Dragon going on right now, which I would love. But so that's cool. Medieval always looked interesting. I'm like you where I've never played it, but like it's something I would definitely try out. Like Beyond Good and Evil, like I had just played that game for the first time late last year. Love it, and I'm hyped as hell for the sequels. So like this could happen the same time, or the same thing could happen with like Medieval if I got around to trying like the old ones or old one. Um, oh yeah, Last of Us 2. That's I meant to bring this up during the Game Awards. Actually, I thought it was interesting that that won most anticipated game over Death Stranding. But I think that's also because
Yeah.
we know Death Stranding will be waiting for that next year as well, so it'll probably win next year. Um, but Last of Us 2 definitely looks interesting. I played the first one, so I can comment on that. Last of Us 2 looks awesome. But yeah, I mean, it was nothing like super unexpected. You know, release dates weren't there, which is kind of annoying. I understand why people could be annoyed with that. A bunch of shit's probably going to get delayed, but it was all right show. I was okay missing it and reading it because I had to work and everything, but like I was fine playing catch up, and I feel like my opinions wouldn't have changed much than changed from what they are now, even if I had a PS4 and was all caught up and everything. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing. Like, I respect Media Molecule and what they've done. I was a big fan of the Little Big Planet series, but as far as Dreams goes, like I'm good on that. I'm all the way good. I don't need to see any more of that. And I know Dana's excited for it, but
I watched,
yeah.
and then like more I kept watching, I just became bored.
Hmm.
So it's like glorified Minecraft where you just create your own environment, and it really isn't much gameplay. Everything is just, different activities that you can do. So I just really wasn't feeling it. I'm sorry. I was at first, but now it's just meh.
Hmm. Yeah. So besides the actual, like, games that were shown and stuff, there wasn't that much, but the PSX keynote definitely felt, and Dana actually said this on Discord while we were watching, but it felt more so like a PlayStation talk show kind of thing. And obviously we had Sean Layden talking at one point, and one thing I want to highlight is that Sony has come out and said that they're fully dedicated to, creating single player experiences, despite what's been going on, with people saying that single player games are being phased out and online games are kind of taking over. Sony has taken a stance, and they're saying that they're committed to creating single player experiences still, and they feel that it's necessary. So, did you guys have like any thoughts on that specifically? Um, and just Sony coming out and taking a stance like that. They threw a lot of
So
shots at EA as well, might I add.
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
So my idea or my stance on that whole just argument in general is like single player games are not dying. The only thing that's happening is EA is shoving them away so that they can make more money off of online games. Like single player games are still very much a thing. It's just EA being EA and just wanting to maximize profits out of every game. That's really all it is. Last year, this year, but this past year has been this ridiculous amount of single player games. Like every single game of the year category except for PUBG, or every single game of the year nomination except for PUBG was a freaking single player game. Like, are you kidding me? All of the, or even local co-op was like another one. Like Cuphead came out. We had Persona 5, we had Horizon, we had Resident Evil 7, we had Prey, we had 7 more that I can't think of just because I've been kind of out of the scene for a little bit. But like we had Zelda, we had like single player games are not dead at all, in my opinion. Like I think that argument is just like buzzwordy. I think that people are said it just to like kind of, I don't know, kind of rile up feathers a little bit and just to try and like plant themselves as the good guys. We have Detroit coming, we have Spiderman coming. Like there's been single player games on the horizon, and there's been single player games coming out. Like Assassin's Creed, even like didn't Origins shun multiplayer? Isn't there no multiplayer in Origins?
Yep.
There you go. Like we've had Wolfenstein 2 came out. We had Evil Within 2. We had there's so many that came out this year. I don't get this argument at all. I really don't. It sucks that EA did what they did. Don't get me wrong. Like Visceral Star Wars game looked awesome, but like it's just them doing this. And there are some companies that are doing both, like, but it's really just EA doing this. Single player games are fine.
Yeah, like you said, like the single player thing has never gone away, and it probably never will. And people have always responded well to single player experiences. It's just the fact that I guess recently someone publicized the fact that online games are taking over, and everybody kind of goes with that thinking, even though it's not actually the case. And I kind of like the analogy I come up with for this is like Jay-Z is a very influential rapper and hip hop and everything, and he came out with an album, and on the album he said, all you rappers out there that are putting money to your ear, doing the money phone thing, like that's kind of corny. And this is kind of like what Sony did. Like it's kind of the same tactic. It's like they want to be that authority on it. They want to act like they're the ones that are kind of creating the trends, I guess. and saying, yeah, well, like this is our focus. And I found it like really interesting that they were throwing shade at EA like that. Like that was kind of funny to see. But Dana, you got any thoughts on that?
No, as someone who plays mainly single player games, I never really saw it going away. I just think that it was an article that just got really too sensationalized and it was for basically for clickbaits. And it just, somebody up high just ran with it. But even them making that announcement, just putting everybody at ease, even if you think either way, I thought was a good thing for them to do. And, I am for single player. And I think that it's a good thing just to calm everybody's nerves down.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Go ahead.
One quick thing I want to add on. Victor brought up the good point that they're definitely not as profitable as like online games, which is true. That's 100% true. Like EA is doing what they're doing so they can maximize profits. But at the same time, I feel like developers and publishers have been spending so much money on games lately to do so much little extra stuff that I feel like isn't necessary. You don't need every single player game to be like an 80-hour open world experience with like nothing to do for 60 of those hours. Do you know what I mean? Like Andromeda, for example. The thing is like Senua Hellblade Sacrifice, is that what it's called? That indie game that came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
Or Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, I believe it is. That was an indie game. That was like what you would call, I guess, a AA game. That was made for very little money, and look at how well that did. And we also got games like Neo that came out this year, which has multiplayer, but like that's a single player game at its core. There's like 80 hours of single player content in that game. It's like if they prioritize their spending right, and they don't need to spend as much money as they are. I feel like going for these profits that microtransaction heavy games are filled with, that great, good for your developers, but I feel like they wouldn't need to reach that far if they really sat down and looked at and planned out carefully. I'm sure this is hard to do. This isn't an easy solution, but they could definitely work towards prioritizing what they're developing and how they're going at developing games, and probably make it much cheaper for them to develop these games. Like you have games like Star Citizen, which are just, that's a different case because it's a Kickstarter and it's just constantly generating money, but like they're doing this awfully. That game was supposed to come out 3 years ago into like 1.0, and like no one knows what they're doing with that money, and they obviously don't have the development priorities set straight. A game like Beyond Good and Evil 2, that worries me a little bit. It kind of seems like Michel Ancel is just trying to go all out and do like everything possible in a game, which is scary. But at the same time, believe it or not, in the YouTube comments for one of the new updates that came out a few days ago, someone actually brought up some good insight that because Ubisoft is publishing the game, Ubisoft is going to force them to either put this game out in a reasonable time within 3 or 4 years, or it's not going to happen. And so that means that they have to sit down and kind of develop the main core aspects of the game as soon as possible, and then kind of build the rest of the game around those, but make sure those core aspects are there, and then go from there, instead of just saying, oh, we're going to do this, and this early on, and then not follow through on any of that. They need to, like, this stuff could be streamlined and done better. I'm sure it's not all just profits. Like there are other things that can change as well. It's interesting. And this is definitely not as easy as I'm making it sound, but these are definitely things that could start transitioning over the next couple of years and make things easier down the line. These wouldn't be instant changes, but it's definitely something that could be worked on, I'm sure.
Wow, Max is dropping a lot of knowledge right there. Yeah, definitely some great points.
This makes me mad.
Some great points made there for sure.
Yeah, Victor brought it up. He brought up that very good point. So,
yeah,
in the chat.
Very good food for thought there. Another thinking I had with Sony's statement is, we know that Phil Spencer earlier this year, he came out and said that he wants to definitely focus a lot on building games that are kind of services, ongoing services and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if, that's kind of them being the opposite kind of thing, to the competition. But yeah, definitely interesting. And, also during the keynote, there was a segment where they, kind of gave Andrew House a nice send off. And I talked to a lot of people who follow the workings of Sony closely, and there was a lot of speculation a few weeks back that Mark Cerny and Andrew House didn't really get on well, but seeing, Mark Cerny and Andrew House and Kojima, sitting down on the couch and talking and, reminiscing, that was kind of cool to see, even though personally I thought some of it was a bit cringeworthy. But, it was cool to see for sure, like, Andrew House getting praised and everything for his work at Sony, because he has done a lot. He's been with the company for a long time. And he basically said that, it was time for him to kind of start a new adventure in life, because obviously he's not getting any younger, and he's worked with Sony for a very, very long time, since he was, a lot younger and everything. So I guess if you've accomplished all that he's accomplished, why not set aside time to have, a completely fresh journey in life, while you still can. So it definitely made sense, and it put a lot of things into perspective. So I guess, for real PlayStation fans, that was cool to see, to see Andrew House get praised like that. Dana, did you have any thoughts on that segment?
No, I think everything was just said.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much to talk about. Well, there was a panel for The Last of Us 2, and I know Dana watched that. They did say, like, the biggest piece of news coming from that, and Richard actually told me this earlier on, because I didn't watch it, but Richard informed me of this. So they said that The Last of Us 2 is going to be playable at E3 next year. So that's interesting that, it's going to be that far along at that point, and it makes me wonder when the game is actually going to come out. I guess if it is playable, then there's a possibility it could come out, in fall 2018. But Dana, since you watched the panel, what's your thoughts on The Last of Us 2?
Anyone who is fans of the original is going to be very happy of what is going to happen with the second one. It seems to be, they said it's going to be a lot more intense, and as we saw from they gave a very brief, like, not a screenshot, but like a trailer, almost a scene from the game, and it was very brutal and very violent. We saw, like, basically there were two captives. There was two people who were being held captive, and one was being beaten with, seems like either a hammer or an axe, and their arm was trying to be separated from the rest of the body. And these two unidentified people came in and started killing the guys with bows and arrows. And so they did explain that it's going to be a lot more violent, and it's going to be more depressing. So if you're a fan of that, they also addressed that Joel and Ellie might die, or they might not. But the fact that they're even saying that they might, I'm leaning towards them, dying more than anybody else. They said that it's not going to be lighthearted at all. It's going to be very gross. It's going to be very violent, and it's going to be very brutal. The events of the previous game is going to play heavily into the next game. We may end up meeting Ellie's mom, so that seems to be very interesting. Basically, that was it. That was talked about.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, The Last of Us 2 is another one of those games where I already know that I'm going to play it. So, I'm not looking too hard at, new coverage or anything, because I don't want to spoil myself. Like, I already know that I want the game. I don't need to be sold on it, kind of thing, So, I am kind of avoiding all the story related announcements and stuff like that, because I just want to play it at the end of the day. But yeah, PSX, that's pretty much it. So the title of this show was "Did we expect too much from the PlayStation experience?" And just to end that off and answer that question, well, yeah, I think our expectations, we like they were based on what we've previously seen of PSX, and this was definitely not that. But Sony did kind of alert us to the fact that this was going to be a bit different, I guess. But not everybody heard that announcement, so they kind of expected a lot more from it. I do want to say though that Sony should they need to be a lot more organized, and they need to tell the people who are flying out to PSX, like they need to tell them exactly when this is happening, because there was a lot of complications, especially with Richard and everything, because it was snowing in Atlanta, so he suffered a lot of delays. But he didn't originally, when he booked the tickets, he didn't even know that the keynote was going to be happening that day. They didn't release that information, so everybody assumed that it was going to be happening the next day, like the Saturday or whatever, Saturday morning, because that's what happened last year. So if Sony would have announced that it was happening Friday evening, people might have flown in the day before, or a lot earlier, and Richard wouldn't have been caught up in those delays, and it wouldn't have caused a lot of complications. So yeah, Sony needs to be a lot more clear on when things are actually happening. But yeah, from everything I've been hearing from the team that's out there right now, it seems like the show is a lot more interesting if you're there. And yeah, there's a lot more behind the scenes stuff to check out there, which is cool. But yeah, you guys got any final thoughts on PSX?
It was just painful. It was boring. I just found it to be disappointing. And the fact that there wasn't any release dates announced, and that's just something simple. So I really didn't understand the purpose of that. And they just showed old trailers from previous shows. So that was disappointing. I would have been better off if they just showed trailers for new games and announced new games. That's all I needed. If you're not going to provide any information on the previously announced games, then there's no reason for you to even be there.
Fair enough. Max, any final thoughts?
Not in particular, no. I'm pretty much agree with Dana, like the kind of the general opinion of the show, and I pretty much share the general opinion of the show.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much our thoughts. I do want to announce that Richard and JJ do plan on doing like a recap of the show itself, and how it was being there and what they've seen and everything. So you can probably look out for that possibly tomorrow, because they're going to be traveling back, of course. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that whenever that goes up. But yeah, that's our thoughts on the PlayStation experience, and that's pretty much the end of the show. So we're going to get into shout outs now. So Max, let us know your shout outs.
Yeah, as always, thanks everyone for participating in the chat. Especially we had Victor bring up some great points throughout the show. I've been talking with him most of the time in the chat. We had Akeem joining in earlier. We had Hyphen earlier on in the show as well. We had a few other people joining in here and there, which is always cool to see. And thanks for everyone that listens to the show afterwards and leaves comments afterwards and all that sort of stuff. It's always good to be here every Sunday with you guys and talk to you guys about games.
Yeah, indeed. I haven't been very active in the chat because I did have some internet connection issues earlier. And I forgot to refresh the chat, so I didn't see a lot of the comments. But shouts to Victor, because I saw that he's been pretty active in there. So yeah, big shouts to him, and shouts to everyone who interacts with the show on a regular basis. Dana, what's your shout outs?
Just shout out to everybody who's listening, and thank you for your time and opportunity for us to even have a show.
Indeed. Yep, so I'm going to get straight into the Patreon shout outs now. So special thanks to M. Collins, Sean Gority, Stephen Ferron, Mauricio Aguilar, Himdil, Fergus Mills, Lelo and Leslie, Nicholas Alvarez, Miguel, and Mark. Big shouts to all of our Patreon supporters. We will be bringing back, the giveaways pretty soon. Obviously, the holiday is coming up, so things are a bit chaotic at the moment, but you can look forward to, some more content and some giveaways coming in the future. So thank you for your continued support of the Koalition. And I want to give a big shout out to, all of the Koalition teammates, the Koalition staff that are out at PSX right now. Tony's out there, Tatiana's out there, Richard, JJ, big shouts to all of them, and hope they're having a great time out there. I know they went for a Mexican meal yesterday, so I'm kind of jealous. It's always good fun when we get to meet up at these events and stuff and hang out in person. And it's cool that they got to do that twice this year, kind of at E3 and now at PSX. Hopefully the trend continues and we'll be back at E3 again, all of us. So yeah, big shouts to the team, man. Was you gonna say something, Dana?
No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Dana's definitely going to be attending a lot of events in 2018, so definitely look out for that. But that's pretty much it from us for this week. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening, and take care, people. See you next week.